Hello, I'm film and television composer Clive Coburn. Music needs to make people feel something, whether it's excitement, power, beauty, or something else. This podcast is all about making the best of low-budget situations. The scores involve my synths and samplers and 1, 2, or maybe 3 classical musicians. So with that small band, I needed to create emotion. The synth and sampler component is always the foundation of my music, always. But if the real instruments weren't there, it would have been very difficult to make the music have emotion, as I think you'll detect in these examples. For smaller jobs, we would record the soloists one at a time, and the musician, engineer and myself would all be in the same room. I can remember violinist the wonderful Wilma Smith coming to a little session like that. I remember her taking a seat, taking a bow out of the case, adjusting the tension, and then tuning a violin. Even that was magic to me. Then she'd look at the music that she had never seen before. By looking at the written music, she could imagine how it was meant to sound. Then she'd play it with wonderful emotion first time through. One film was made by a married couple. The man was terminally ill, but he wanted to make the film. It was on his bucket list. I was in the control room when they first saw the film they'd shot with the music added. The lady was looking at the screen, and when she heard the music with the film that she and her husband had shot, alone for weeks in the cold New Zealand bush, she was so moved that while looking at the screen got down on her knees and said very emotionally that they had made a real movie together. It was very moving and very gratifying for me. Here's a cue from that documentary. It features violinist Wilma Smith, cellist Alan Chisholm, and oboist Stephen Popplewell. I'm playing everything else. The music is for the very fragile environment of the kiwi, the nocturnal bird in our country's emblem that's being threatened by rats, ferrets and other killers. This track is cellist Alexander Ivashkin playing solo to the recording of my synths and samplers. The music was to a scene where the camera tracked through vintage planes at rest in their hangar. They were tiger moths actually, so it's a scene of these fragile old ladies at rest. I asked Alexander to make his entry as unnoticeable as possible. This excerpt is from the same film, so again it's just a cello and me. It portrays the freedom of flying through the air, through the clouds, and down over a town on a plane. In this case, a very old plane. This last track needed to be Celtic. The music was for the stud horse Sir Tristram and his owner Patrick. I don't know why the music was to be Celtic, but that was the brief. Writing commercially makes you do all sorts of things. This time my band needed to be a fiddle, which is a very different thing than a violin in the way that it's played. Classical violinists have huge respect for good fiddle players. It also features acoustic guitar, mandolin, and the Ellen or Irish bagpipes. They have a spine-tingling sound, as you can hear when they enter. I learned that most, if not all, Irish or Celtic music is in D major. I'm very glad I learned that before I embarked on the writing. Composers need to know these things. Not knowing would have meant that the music would have not been able to be played, and the session would have been a complete failure. Here's a cue from this Celtic score. Thank you for listening.